Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and again, I have to do another cardboard cutout video. I'm sorry, I'm still too sick to be on camera right now. I hope y'all don't necessarily hear it that much, but you probably do. I'm hoping by tomorrow I could be back on camera like normal, but today we got to talk about everything that went down in Washington Commanders Phase 2, I'll call it Set 2 OTAs Day 3. I already did a video breaking down Days 1 and 2 yesterday because I was so sick I couldn't even do Day 1 when Day 1 happened. I had to wait till yesterday to do a whole comprehensive video for both Days 1 and 2. Now I'm talking about Day 3, and there's a lot of notable things to talk about. First of all, a lot of my notes are coming from Zach Selby, so shouts out to him. But first of all, Jahan, the wide receiver, fixed a big mistake. You know Eric Bieniemy got on his head. It is really interesting how well he fixed that mistake for the rest of the practice. Also, Khaleke, the linebacker, is stepping up in Jamin Davis's absence. We got to talk about Jamin Davis, the fact that he's been hurt. Del-Rio and Eric Bieniemy had press conferences after the practice today, and I'm going to talk about some of the most notable things that they said as well. But Del-Rio has basically said that they do kind of miss Jamin Davis and things like that, but guys like Khaleke are stepping up and making plays. Cody Barton had an interception yesterday, so that's great to hear. And then also the secondary had a great day today overall, man, making quarterbacks hold the ball longer, all of that type of stuff. We're going to get into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Definitely when I finally get back right health-wise fully, we're gonna start getting to those film sessions, man. I've been watching the film sessions over and over again. I've just been either too busy or now too sick to actually do the film sessions, but I've literally just been watching Emmanuel Forbes, all 22, Quan Martin, Ricky Strongberg. Anytime I have some downtime, I've just literally been watching it over and over again. So I'm really excited to work on this entire rookie class for you and some notable undrafted free agents as well. So without further ado, without wasting more of your time, let's get it.
You tell your family you're gonna be a commander.
Again, shouts out to Zach Selby from thecommanders.com, the senior writer. He always does a great job breaking down anything that goes down in practice. Of course, I try to pull extra notes from wherever else I can get it. So we're kind of following his notes, and of course, I'm going to add all of my input, all of my extra analysis to every note that he has as well. And again, I'm also pulling in information from other sources as well. So just wanted to make sure I shouted him out, though. But he starts off with saying Jahan made a mistake, but didn't take long to repent on his ways. During team drills, he had a pass bounce off of his chest, and it would have been a heavily contested catch, but he could have hauled it in. That earned some yelling from Eric Bieniemy after the play. You gotta catch that. Bieniemy barked from 30 yards away. And first of all, I want to take some time to notice that with this being a heavily contested catch and the fact that Eric Bieniemy and our coaching staff and even Jahan, even for himself, expects to make those catches, I love the fact that we have high expectations there. That is big time. I'm not sure if a lot of people realize that. Like, apparently this catch was super contested, and you know, not every receiver would be expected to make that, but when you're Jahan, who hasn't even played a full 17 games yet in his career, is already expected to make those type of catches, I love it. That type of mentality, that type of hard coaching that Eric Bieniemy is already famous for amongst all Commanders Nation, the coaching staff, the players, the front office, and the fan base especially. That type of stuff is what's going to make all of these players so great and reach their potential and be the best that they can be. Those type of expectations, not a hope he can make a heavily contested catch, but an expectation that he will make that contested catch. I absolutely love it. But also, after that, Dotson didn't drop a pass for the rest of the day. He hauled in his targets and even got some yards after catch. Not a bad way to make up for your mistakes. I absolutely love that as well. So on top of what we've already talked about, the fact that after he had that one, I guess you could consider it a drop in a heavy contested catch situation, after that he didn't drop anything else for the rest of practice, and he even ran harder and was starting to get some yards after catch on some plays and things like that. You could tell he got kind of in the zone, and it's, of course, you know, it is practice, it is the NFL, but with no pads on and it's no full contact, I'm pretty sure it's hard to stay completely 100% in the zone, giving you 110% every play. Jahan Dotson, I guess you could say he slipped up by not making a heavily contested catch. Whoever was in coverage, shouts out to them too for making this catch so difficult. That's what we expect out of the secondary. And again, I'm always going to talk about that. I love how it sounds like iron is sharpening iron, because normally when you hear the offense making great plays, you're looking at the defense like, well, what are you doing? Is the offense that good or is the defense that bad? And vice versa. When the defense is making plays, you're looking at the offense like, well, are y'all just not explosive? Are y'all not good? Or is our defense just that suffocating? But it sounds like from a lot of the things that I'm hearing that it just sounds like iron sharpening iron, where it's great coverage from whoever had the coverage. Shouts out to the defense. And then shouts out to Jahan Dotson for being such a great receiver already, to where we expect him to make those type of catches. And then again, for the remainder of the day, he went on to make those catches. And again, it's kind of hard to stay 110% focused and dedicated to OTAs, because it does kind of feel like you're almost just doing walkthroughs and just kind of going with the motion, especially when it's voluntary to the point that Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and your starting left tackle Charles Leno aren't even reporting to practice at all. You don't even have all your guys there. So, I mean, I know it's probably hard to stay focused. Once he tapped into his brain and was like, all right, I'm motivated. After that, after Eric Bieniemy basically cussed me out for dropping a catch that most receivers couldn't even make in the first place, now I'm in the zone. Now I'm on it, and it sounds like he balled out for the remainder of practice, and he'll probably ball out for the remainder of the offseason after that. That may be the one Jahan Dotson drop you see for the remainder of the 2023 year. So I love to hear that, man. I'm really excited. Also, Zach Selby pointed out that a few other receivers who are around the bottom of the roster made some impressive catches today as well. Khaleke McGowan, who's always competing for like a backup special teams role, trying to, you know, compete against Dax Milne for the starting punt returner role. We also have Kazmir Allen, who's currently dealing with a hamstring issue. Who knows how long that's going to last, because we felt like Cole Turner was like, well, he'll be healthy by tomorrow, healthy by next week, and then next week turned into next week, and the next week turned into 3 weeks, and then it turned into a month. So who knows? We got to monitor Kazmir Allen, but as of right now, Khaleke McGowan is in that returner room right now, punt returning. Antonio Gibson is pretty much just a kick returner. If we're talking punt returner, you have Kazmir Allen, Dax Milne, of course, who was our starting punt returner last year, which I'm hoping doesn't happen this year. I mean, when in doubt, it's a great backup plan to go to, because he did his thing. You don't have to worry about him muffing punts, but I do want some more explosion. And then you also have Khaleke McGowan out there. And the fact that he's making plays on offense is making the coaches take a second look at him. And, you know, maybe he'll increase his opportunities to make some plays in special teams, because I highly doubt he's going to make this team as a receiver. If he makes his 53-man roster in some crazy way, it will be for special teams, but making plays on offense in OTAs is a way for the coaches to double back and look at you a little bit more. Also, Zion Bowens and Mitchell Tinsley made some grabs as well. Mitchell Tinsley, remember, is the one that transferred to Penn State, but before he did, he was out there balling with Bailey Zappi, and he's a guy that some people are saying may be like a Jahan Dotson 2.0. So I'm not surprised to hear him making plays. He had like a 1,400 receiving yards season like a couple of years ago with Bailey Zappi. Like when Bailey Zappi was doing all of that balling out before he went to the Patriots, Mitchell Tinsley was the guy that was catching most of those passes. But I'm hearing that all of those guys made grabs that earned some praise from Bieniemy individually, all three of them. So that's great to hear. Again, Khaleke McGowan, Zion Bowens, and Mitchell Tinsley. Also, John Bates was also a reliable target during red zone drills, securing a touchdown around the middle of the field. And that's huge. That is great news to hear. I'm glad that that was included in Zach Selby's notes, because John Bates, we know what he can do as a blocker. And we know that, you know, he may not be a dynamic tight end that can really make plays from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line. But when we get to the red zone, can you at least make the tough catches that we need for you to be considered a dual threat tight end, even in the slightest? And if he's able to do that, that's going to be big, man, because again, dual threat tight ends change the game. It's literally the wave, y'all. If you're out there and you can block on a run play and at least be somewhat of a threat in the passing game, you don't have to be a guy that can get open on his own, but at least if a quarterback throws it up there, you can trust that he comes down with it, whether it's contested or open or whatever. When you're a dual threat tight end, man, defenses have to stay balanced. Remember, back in the day with Jordan Reed, love him and Vernon Davis, they would be out there. You knew we were passing the ball because there was no way we were running the ball, and if we did, we weren't running it their way. And then you had other guys out there that would be obvious blocking tight ends. You knew we were running the ball. You knew we weren't throwing it, and if we did, they weren't even considered a potential target. So if John Bates can grow into more of a dual threat tight end, that's going to be huge for us. Again, I don't expect John Bates to give us what Cole Turner does in the red zone and how much he's been balling in off-season practices once again, just like last year. I'm not expecting him to be as dynamic and as much of a true separator as I believe Armani Rogers could be. I'm just hoping that he could give us some of the Logan Thomas. He's a better blocker than Logan Thomas already, and if Logan Thomas is back to his 2021 self like Rivera and company feel like he is, then that's really cool as well. But John Bates, man, as our best blocking tight end as of right now, but guys like Curtis Hodges and Cole Turner are getting better. I don't necessarily expect them to be as good of a blocker as John Bates, but maybe they can grow into being as good of a blocker, just enough to be considered a dual threat tight end. Just like John Bates, he's already got the blocking. I'm hoping he becomes enough of a pass catching threat to where he can be considered a dual threat tight end. Right now, our goal is to get as many of these tight ends that we currently have on this roster to become true dual threat tight ends, because it keeps a defense, they're forced to stay balanced. They can't automatically just assume because John Bates is on the field that we're going to run the ball. If he can go out there and be enough of a pass catching threat when he's out there on the field, of course you prefer John Bates in a blocking situation than a pass catching situation, but at least the defense has to respect his pass catching ability, and that will open things up and make things easier in the run game. So again, that's great to hear. I probably talked about that way too long, but either way, I'm really happy to hear that John Bates is making consistent plays, because I've heard about his name has come up like 2 or 3 days in a row now as far as making catches. That's big. Now granted, it is OTAs, there's no pads, there's no full contact and things like that, but it sounds like he's catching what's being thrown towards him, and that is really good. Zach Selby goes on to say, we haven't spent much time discussing the linebacker, so here's a positive from Khaleke Hudson. The former Michigan Wolverine blew up a screen pass early in team drills, corralling Brian Robinson before he could gain any momentum, and that's huge, man, because Khaleke Hudson, he looks slow on the field to me, but it's more so because of like IQ and instincts. He always seems like he's a step behind from where he should have been. Remember, I always try to bring this up because Sean Lee was not athletic at all, the linebacker from the Cowboys, but he was so smart, so instinctual, so much more proactive rather than reactive, that his lack of speed didn't matter, because if he was a step ahead of the guy trying to block him or a step ahead of the play that was going on, it didn't matter how slow he was. He was there early anyway. So Khaleke Hudson, man, the athleticism is there. Like, there's some. It's not Jamin Davis and Cody Barton level, even though he is kind of like a linebacker safety hybrid type of guy. So he does have some sideline to sideline speed and some athleticism to him, but it just didn't matter until he started to learn the game a little bit better, get his IQ, his vision, his awareness up a little bit more, and we started to see a lot of flashes from that Cowboys game at the end of the season where he balled out. A lot of young guys balled out. You had Chris Paul at left guard, you have Sam Howell, most notably at quarterback, Percy Butler at safety, slot corner, all of that type of stuff, and don't forget Khaleke Hudson at linebacker. He looked really good against the Cowboys, and to hear that he's still building on that development and progress going into this offseason, he didn't lose it. It's not like at the end of December and then all the way up till now May/June, he just somehow forgot how to play football. He's building on it. That's great to hear, because we're going to need him to step up big time, because right now this linebacker group still isn't a great one, but we have some good pieces. I've been hearing good things about Cody Barton. When Jamin Davis comes back, that's going to be huge for us. We're going to talk about him towards the end of the video. And then for Khaleke Hudson to be stepping up and making plays, that's big time as well. And Zach Selby goes on to talk about how he had a solid ending to the 2022 season, like I just said, recording 7 tackles in the season finale against the Cowboys. If Hudson can take a larger role this season, he will need to make more plays like that in training camp. So I love the fact that he blew up a screenplay. Like, he diagnosed it and just went and made the play early. That was IQ. That was pure awareness. He was not doing things like that his first few years. Remember, Khaleke Hudson is up there. He's not like one of the youngest guys. I mean, he's already gone through his rookie contract and we just re-signed him on a 1-year deal. You're not that young guy on that rookie contract anymore. Your rookie contract is up. We re-signed him to that 1-year deal, and now it's time to go out there and prove yourself. I mean, we kept saying year after year, where he's still on his rookie contract. He still it's time to learn. Now, that rookie contract is done, literally done. We're on to the 5th year right now. The new contract, it was a cheap 1-year deal because we got to see more from you. This is the time to step up. Jamin Davis is hurt. Cody Barton is new, and a lot of people don't even believe in Cody Barton. I like his talent, but I still got to see it. And then David Mayo is a liability in coverage. We already know that. So this is your opportunity to go out there and be the man at linebacker right now, honestly, before Jamin Davis gets back, and to make as many plays as you can. So to hear that he's making the most of it is a great thing. Again, back to my Sean Lee comparison. If you're early, it doesn't even matter how much you lack athleticism. Again, it seemed like to me it wasn't necessarily a lack of athleticism. It was just a lack of IQ and awareness to be there earlier than he was supposed to. But at times he did look slow out there. But again, so going back to Sean Lee, it doesn't matter. If you're early, it doesn't matter how fast your car is. If you left on time, if you left early enough, and you're aware and you're there before you should be, it doesn't matter if your car can hit 120 miles per hour. If your car can only get to 30 miles per hour, but you're there early and you're able to diagnose the play, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all we ask for, especially out of linebacker. Sean Lee made a career out of that, wreaking havoc, basically driving a 30 miles per hour max car. Next up, Zach Selby said it was a good day for the secondary as well as the group for Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett to hold the ball longer than intended and scramble to keep plays alive during 7-on-7 drills. The 7-on-7 drills are literally built for the offense to beat the defense. First of all, practice without pads and non-full contact is literally designed for the offense to beat the defense. But the more players you take off the field, the bigger of an advantage the offense has over the defense. The fact that the secondary was playing well against the offense in 7-on-7s is huge. And then on top of that, you got to remember that our receiver group, you can argue, is the best group on this team between that and the defensive line. So the fact that the secondary is playing that well in these scenarios against that receiving core, that is huge, man. I don't think y'all understand. But they also secured 2 interceptions today, the last of which was from newcomer Terrell Burgess on a pass from Howell targeting Terry McLaurin to cap off the day. I mean, we just signed this guy a couple of days ago, and he's already coming out here and making interceptions. Like I said, when we signed him, I wasn't necessarily sure if this was like a real honest, this guy has a real shot to make a team type of signing. He has a lot of guys above him on the depth chart that he's gonna have to beat out to do that, but a great way to start that. I never said it was impossible, I just said it's very unlikely. But one way to make sure that it's more possible is to go out there and get an interception just within a couple of days after being signed, especially against a starting quarterback versus the best receiver on the team. You could argue the best receiver in the NFC East. That's great to hear from Terrell Burgess, man. That's very positive news. Eric Bieniemy was the first coordinator at the podium, and of course he was asked about his impressions on Sam Howell. It should not be a surprise that he was eager to praise the quarterback. And I mean, Zach Selby says that it should not be a surprise that he was eager to praise Sam Howell, but at the same time, man, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a surprise based off of everything that we've been hearing from the past couple of days. But if this were 2 months ago and we heard on June 1st that Eric Bieniemy was absolutely loving Sam Howell, us as fans would be ecstatic. At this point, we already kind of expected him to praise him once he finally had his press conference because of all of the great things Sam Howell's been doing the past couple of days, which is great. But this for sure would have been a pleasant surprise to us a couple of months ago if you would have told me in 2 months Eric Bieniemy's going to love Sam Howell before we even get the mandatory mini camps. That's great news. That's best case scenario. So just wanted to also add my 2 cents there. He said, quote, Sam's a very competitive kid. He understands sometimes when he's making mistakes, and the only thing he wants to know is what he can do to get better. More than anything, I'm enjoying just watching him work and how he handles the highs and the lows, because you're going to have some of that over the course of working during the offseason, unquote. And I love that fact that he brought up that the highs and the lows, how does it react to both? Because I mean, you can have great plays and that's great and all too, but I also want to see you have low plays. We're going to put you in scenarios to where you're basically supposed to lose and mess up. We want to see how you react to that, because you're not going to be perfect every game. Nobody is. So you got to be mentally tough. You got to be able to bounce back and also adapt and adjust, like what went wrong, how it went wrong, how can I fix it, and things like that. And so I love the fact that Sam Howell is doing both. Like, I mean, if he was just going out there and balling out with all highs and no lows, first of all, again, to my point that I've been making the past few days, and like I made earlier, we be looking at the defense a little crazy, like, are y'all really who y'all say y'all are? If this quarterback, who's only played in 1 game so far in his NFL NFL career is out here looking perfect against y'all, we got to question who y'all are, because I highly doubt Sam Howell is just a Hall of Famer and is already to Patrick Mahomes level. So we got to look at the defense a little crazy. So it's a benefit for multiple reasons as to why we do need some highs and some lows with Sam Howell. And again, most notably, like Eric Bieniemy said, he's going to have some lows so we can see how he works through them and becomes a better player. Also, Eric Bieniemy said, quote, his demeanor does not change. And I will say this, he auto-corrects himself as well, unquote. That's great to hear that Sam Howell is doing checks and balances on himself. Whenever he makes a mistake, of course, Eric Bieniemy is going to be there to say it. But a lot of it is Sam Howell just taking initiative on his own and being like, I'm going to fix that. I know exactly what I did wrong, and I know how to fix it. And those are two big steps. A lot of people, first of all, don't even exactly know where they went wrong when they made a mistake. And then even less people from there know how to fix it after they identify what went wrong. So that's great news on Sam Howell. That's only going to make him a better player. We're basically hearing the same things that we were hearing about Cameron Curl his rookie season. He was a 7th round pick. Not a lot of people, even me, I can include myself, Rico Street Scores, was not paying much attention to Cameron Curl until a random press conference in the middle of the offseason. Ron Rivera said this guy never makes the same mistake twice. And then next thing you know, Cameron Curl is just this dog out there and is one of the leaders of the defense, one of our best defensive players, arguably the most underrated player on this entire team. Sam Howell is giving us a lot of that. Now, granted, it's coming from Eric Bieniemy rather than Ron Rivera this time, but when you hear they know how to fix mistakes, they don't make the same mistakes again, that is huge. Because honestly, that just sounds like a big anime video game type of cheat code where you make a mistake and never make it again, and you just keep doing that over and over again. You become the perfect player, basically. So I'm absolutely in love with those type of compliments. Those provide a lot of great outlook and optimism for certain players, especially at certain positions. Now, also, Bieniemy vouched for Chris Rodriguez during the draft process because of his talent and knack of finding the end zone. The former Kentucky Wildcat is going through some growing pains like the rest of the rookies, but Bieniemy said he is doing everything he can to bring value to the roster. He said, quote, Chris is a hardworking kid. He takes a tremendous amount of pride in everything that he does. Right now, I think he's in a good place, unquote. And like I spoke about yesterday, Chris Rodriguez was struggling the first few practices. You could tell that the speed in the NFL and everything that was going on was a little too much for him. It kind of like we just threw him out there to the wolves and he was the least ready, it seems like, out of this rookie class from what I'm hearing. But it sounds like he's finally starting to become more confident, get adjusted to the speed of the NFL, and getting adjusted to what they're asking him to do, because it's probably pretty different from what he was doing at Kentucky. So that's great to hear that he's getting better, and Eric Bieniemy is recognizing the fact that this guy's doing everything that he can to improve every day. That's great news. Jack Del-Rio also spoke to the media after Eric Bieniemy. It's reported that he was ecstatic to have Emmanuel Forbes as part of the secondary, and so far the former Mississippi State Bulldog has lived up to that excitement, and honestly even a little bit more. He's held his own against the Commanders' top receivers and adapted well to the scheme. Again, yesterday he was matched up against Terry McLaurin and Jahan and locked them both up. You know how impressive that is. Again, back to the same theme I keep saying. Iron sharpens iron. If the offense is balling, is the defense bad? If the defense is balling, is the offense bad? Well, I know Terry McLaurin and Jahan aren't bad. So if Emmanuel Forbes is able to make plays against those guys, that just means he's that great already. Only in the second set of OTAs practices. We still have another one on June 11th, and then we have mandatory mini camps, all of that type of stuff before the June 11th, of course. And then we also have the full training camp, preseason, all of that. And for him to already be at the point where he's doing well against Terry McLaurin and Jahan, that's huge. He's way ahead of the curve. From what Del-Rio has seen, Forbes has been a perfect fit, and I love the word perfect there. Not a great fit, not a good fit, the perfect fit, like literally exactly what we're looking for. Jack Del-Rio said, quote, he's a tremendous football player. He's fast. He's got great ball skills. He's very bright, and he plays some of the best competition that you can in the SEC and held up week in and week out, unquote. That's a great compliment from your defensive coordinator as a 16th overall pick and only, I guess, what you could say like your 7th or 8th day of practice so since you've hit the NFL, and no pads, no contact yet so far in his entire NFL career, short NFL career. Also, Jack Del-Rio spoke on Jamin Davis. Now, of course, Jamin Davis Davis has not been able to participate much in practice lately as he's recovering from cleanup surgery in his knee, I believe. But Del-Rio did comment on what he saw from the linebacker last season. He noticed that there were more splash plays from the former 2021 first-round pick, and the defense needs that trend to continue. He said, quote, "We had more splash plays and less what the heck are you doing plays," unquote, from last year. And he also said we need that trend to continue, of course. I thought that was a funny quote. I mean, the fact that they were looking at Jamin Davis at times in 2021, like, what are you doing? And they're saying that he still had a couple of those last year, but it was way less. There were way fewer what are you doing plays and way more splash plays. And hey, this guy looks like he has first round talent in him. Again, I keep saying it. I think people need to let up on Jamin Davis a little bit. He may never exactly live up to the pick that he was in the draft, but I think he'll be a really good player and a really good linebacker for us at the end of the day. Jack Del-Rio also said we should expect him to be at his best. He's going to be challenged. I'm going to be honest with you. He's shown that he's going to be a valuable piece for us, unquote. And that's the last quote from Jack Del-Rio and Jamin Davis. Again, Jamin Davis is going to be a huge part of this defense. That athleticism is going to be really big. I've already talked about it several times, several videos, several live streams. We do not play a lot of linebackers on the field. So if Khaleke Hudson and Cody Barton can look really good, that's going to be really important because, again, we don't really play linebackers like that. But with Jamin Davis hurt, and I mean, we're going to try to play him 100% of the snaps like how we did at times last year. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a healthy rotation of linebackers. Again, we barely play them. A lot of the times, we only have 2 linebackers out there. We had a linebacker out there by himself, just one linebacker more last year than we had 3 out there. We really don't play them, but the more linebackers we can have that's out there looking good, fitting the scheme and making plays, that's going to be a huge part of our rotation. And then with Jamin Davis dealing with what he's dealing with right now, they probably don't want him to play 100% of snaps like he was doing last year. They would hope that Cody Barton and Khaleke Hudson step up enough to where it could be a more evened out rotation. Jamin Davis is still, if fully healthy, if everybody's fully healthy, Jamin Davis is obviously going to play more than Cody Barton and Khaleke Hudson, maybe even combined. But I definitely hope we get to the point where Jamin Davis doesn't have to play 100% of snaps in games. I really hope so. But again, we're more likely to go out there with 1 linebacker than we are with 3. So if we could just have 3 solid guys, I think we should be pretty straight. But it would be nice if we also got some additional depth there as well. Maybe we could look at some veterans in free agency, whatever. Maybe some of these younger guys step up. Again, it's great to hear Khaleke Hudson, what we talked about earlier, stepping up and making plays as well and building on what he already had a really good game against the Cowboys to end the season last regular season. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. As always, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. We got Jamin Davis. We got things that Jack Del-Rio was saying about Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes. We got Eric Bieniemy speaking on Sam Howell and Chris Rodriguez. We got Khaleke Hudson making plays. We got the secondary looking really good against our starting wide receivers. We got Jahan fixing a mistake and never making it again. Eric Bieniemy's hard coaching, high expectations for the players and accepting nothing less. Let me know how you feel about all of that. And without further ado, I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.